Alright, over here I have my Proxmox platform, my virtual environment, where I have all of my machines which I will be able to interconnect. And I'm going to create two machines here. The first machine will be our checkpoint device, checkpoint firewall, which is going to have two interfaces. And the second machine is going to be our Windows machine, which we will connect through our checkpoint firewall. So to start with, you need to upload an image which you download on Checkpoint website, which you go for and type in the version that you need to install, whether it's R81 or R80.10, whatever the version is. You just go there and download that. So once you download the ISO file, you go for storage on your virtualization platform, and then you have to upload it. In Proxmox environment, you go for storage, your local storage, and go for ISO images. Over here I have my various images that I have used for installation. So basically I use the button here, which is called upload, and I have uploaded checkpoint R81 image, R81 ISO, which I will be using for my installation. So the next thing you do over here, to the left, on the left tab, we're gonna click, right click, and gonna do create VM. So once we do that, we're gonna choose a node where I am installing that. Typically, if you have a new installation, it's gonna be one node. If you have an already working environment, it might be more, depending on the environment that you have. So then you're gonna have to click the VM ID, a random number, which will be associated specifically with that virtual machine. So as for the name, let's call it Checkpoint Firewall. Checkpoint Firewall. I think it's a good name, probably without underscore. So then we have to choose the operating system, and we have to choose our ISO. So let's choose it. Let's choose checkpoint R81, and as for the type of the machine, it is based on Linux, so we can choose that parameter. So this is fine. Then we click in next, no graphical card, and as for the SCSI controller, we can use an older one. Let's use this one. Let's try this one out. So as for the hard drive, let's give it a little bit more of size, of disk size. So I will go for 150. So and the next thing we do, we can choose the format as, you know, as pretty much anything. So I'm using a default one for Proxmox. So let's go for next, and the amount of CPU. So I prefer to use in about 4. So we're gonna use 2 cores and 2 sockets. Should be more than enough. And as for the memory, I want to use in about like 10 gigabyte of memory. So that should be fine. So as for network, first I will use my external interface, and we're gonna talk about interfaces a little bit later. Once I create that virtual machine, I will show you where it's done. The idea is pretty much the same for any virtualization platform. You create a network interface which is connected to a specific subnet, right? So by default, you're gonna have to set up a subnet which is connected to the internet, which is routable. So this is something I will create. I'm not quite sure exactly what was the number, you know, for external communication with the network, but I think it's this one. But we will check this out later. For now, we just need to select that there is no VLAN tag. We can disable firewalling. Proxmox firewalling, I want to mention. So the next thing, we just confirm. So okay, I will just confirm, and for now what I want to do while the virtual machine is created, I want to disable all of my working machines so they don't utilize the resources, because I want, you know, to use all of my resources specifically for Checkpoint for now, without any Windows machine. We're gonna do that later. That's all good. So over here we have our checkpoint firewalling, and we can verify and see our configuration, what we have here. So as of now, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because I haven't started that yet, but that's all right. So let's go over that. So over here we can connect to a console later once we started. Over here we can see an error saying, hey, we're not able to connect since the machine is not running, since the machine has not started. So over here we can modify and change the value for memory, for CPU, for our SI controller, and in the rest. And we're actually gonna add more network devices over here. So that's why I have mentioned that I'm gonna come back to that. So let's actually go and check out the networking parameters. I'm gonna show you the virtual switches and like what I do there to operate there, because it might be a little bit different on various virtual environments, but the idea is the same. So if you don't know how to create a virtual interface, how to create a network interface, you just have to, like, let's say, look it up. You have to say how to create a virtual switch in a specific environment. If it's ESXi, you say creating a virtual switch in an ESXi environment. If you are using Citrix environment or Hyper-V, you can replace the word. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory what you have to do here, so kind of obvious. Let's move on. Let me show you the networking, how it's done in Proxmox. The first thing you need to do, you need to first get into the nodes where you have your name, and then find a network system configuration file parameter, and I have it right here. The nodes, then you go for system, and then you go for network. And over here you can see a bunch of interfaces, and some of them have IP addresses. The IP address that I have over here on VMBR0 is basically the address I'm using to connect over here, right? So this is the same address I use in my browser, to connect remotely for my Proxmox to manage all of that ecosystem, right? And over here I have my gateway, is to basically where I move the traffic in order to get to the internet and get out of here. So I have used that one as my external bridge, so I'm going to be using that address to get out from here. So this is my next hop for my checkpoint environment, so I'm going to use that as the external interface. So right now I need to create an internal network. As I've mentioned, in our internal network, we're going to be using that subnet, which is 192.168.1.0, and I already have that over here. Right here is, let's rename it. Let's go with checkpoint internal environment. So we don't need any gateways here. We don't need any IPv6 addresses here. It can be auto start, it's fine, we can check it. But the subnet, the IP address that we put here should be like that. We put a whole subnet. So we're going to use VMBR3. We have to remember that because this is what we're going to be using over here. Okay, so let's just click OK. Let's click OK, and we need to apply configuration over here. Let's go for yes. Takes a little bit of time. It's done. Okay, so next we have once I showed you that, we're gonna go to Checkpoint Firewall and go for our hardware. In our hardware, let's go for add, and we're gonna add a network device. And as a network device, we're gonna add VMBR3. VLAN tag, no, we don't have to specify any VLANs. So, and we just add. So over here now we have two network devices, net0 and net1, and as a subnet in which they are located, net0 is located in a bridge which is connected directly to the internet with a gateway address 5.104.228.1 to get out of the internet. So I'm using that as my external interface over here. So this is my external interface, and when I actually deploy a machine, I'm going to use that address to manage my checkpoint device sitting right here, remotely. Okay, so once we have done it, what I want you to do, we need to start the machine. We're gonna start the machine. Takes a little bit of time, and we can open a console, or you can go for open it from here, from this tab. And then we're gonna install our operating system.